Hello, welcome to the Snap UK podcast with myself, with Johnny, Paul, and Jim. Griffin may join us at some point, and Gary is not with us tonight. But we're here to talk the NFL draft, which happened the early hours of Friday morning in the UK. And first things first, what did you guys did you watch it, Paul? And
I'm not embarrassed by who I am after
yes,
that. I didn't watch it because I'm not nocturnal like you two.
Well, all it happens we watched it on a Zoom chat, I think, and by the end it was just them. It was like a nanny cam, effectively, as I fell asleep.
It was a bit. I think it was by about pick 20. We started. A few of us started to drop off, and it was probably about 3:15 UK time by that point. So I think we did well to hang in there.
We did all right.
Yeah.
My plan was to have a sleep before it started, and I failed at that. So.
Yeah, I find the whole drop. I find it all quite addictive because I was watching it again on Friday night and thinking I need to get an early night tonight because I was up late last night and pretty tired. But as I started watching it, it's like just one more pick. It's the Jags. Let's just see what the Jags do. And this went on again. I went to bed about 2:30 again, and it's like I really need to sleep now.
Same as I thought. It's all right. I'm going to see what stupidity the Giants do with the fourth pick of the second round.
Yeah, even at that point, even Roger Goodell was struggling as he sat down in his Barker lounger in his basement.
Just watching him get per round more haggard.
He's only used to doing the first round after all. Like rounds 2 and 3, they normally bring in the guest presenters, don't they? Yeah. And he kind of sits back and his job is done. So he had a hard task for 2 days. I don't think he did much on the third day.
I don't know how that multi-millionaire coped.
Must be really tough reading out a list of names.
Plus, half by the 10th pick of the first round, he must have been so jealous of Cliff Kingsbury's house.
like the rest of us. That was I think that
he lives in an architect's wet dream. It's amazing.
There was that comparison I saw on social media where you had like Bill Belichick 5 rings in the last 20 years. Cliff Kingsbury 5 wins.
And then you compare their houses. There was one point I think they showed all the Falcons glitterati. They had Dimitrov, Dan Quinn, and also kind of Arthur Blank's house. And bear in mind, Arthur Blank's the owner, multi-billionaire, owns one of the biggest retail companies in the States. His kitchen looked very, very ordinary. Yeah. Like my kitchen's better than Arthur Blank's kitchen.
Also, for a man who owns Home Depot.
Exactly. It's like, you'd think you'd have a really nice kitchen. It's like, nope, that was a pretty bog standard, 2 up, 2 down type kitchen. Now, it might be the second kitchen. There might be another kitchen elsewhere, but it was very basic. But we should probably talk about who was picked. And
No. So, this is the interior design podcast.
This is
5 minutes in, and we've gone way off topic already.
Well, no, because for one, it's the only action we're going to get for ages, NFL related, and it was markedly different without fans.
It was. I think there's been a lot of positiveness from just generally the media and people about the draft, and in some ways it was quite nice seeing almost slightly kind of behind the scenes of coaches and GMs' lives. And I thought Matt Rule of the Panther having his 3 kids there doing cheerleading, dancing was kind of sweet. But I did think that on the first night you kind of miss some of that glitz, the glamour, the bear hugs, all those guys sitting in the green room nervously waiting. It's different to kind of sitting at home nervously waiting with all your family and that around you. I preferred it last year, but I'm just happy that they did it. There was a lot of argument about whether it should go ahead in the first place or not. I'm happy that it did it. It had some of the highest TV ratings the drafts had for a long time. That's just because people haven't had literally no sport to watch. This is the closest we've come to live sport in the best part of 6 weeks.
I think you're forgetting the Belarusian Premier League, which is currently thrilling degrees of soccer football going on.
I am. Who is the star striker in the Belarusian Premier League? I'm not even sure I got that right.
But, you know, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Kleb still playing, isn't he? So we'll get back to it as a spectacle later. With the first pick, the Cincinnati Bengals did what we all expected them to do. Joe Burrows. I mean,
yeah,
we can't argue with it, really.
I think you go down and Paul said this before we kicked off tonight. No team was really stupid. I mean, there were a couple of kind of strange picks, which we'll come on to later. But you look at those first 3 picks: Burrow to Cincinnati, Chase Young to Washington, and Jeff Okudah to Detroit. Those 3 picks are probably the most sensible top 3 picks we've had for years.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
And, you could even go down to the Dolphins. Okay, we all expected the Giants to take an offensive tackle. Probably who they took was a bit of a surprise. But even down to the Dolphins and the actually, you know what, even the top 10.
It's because Mickey Becton.
Mickey Becton went to Browns, didn't he?
We still expected the Vegas to pick Henry Ruggs.
Yeah,
I think the Falcons. I think at 16, it's the first one you go, "Ooh, who's he?"
Yeah, AJ Terrell. I think a lot of people kind of mocked him to go back end of the first round, if not kind of top of the second. He's a good talent, but probably not top half of the first round. But I think, and I read kind of Peter King's article. Football Morning in America, and he goes on to talk about the lack of trading that was happening, and the Bucks were desperately trying to trade up into the top 10 to get their offensive tackle, and no one wanted to move. And you can see that through, especially in the first half of the first round, there's only that one trade. It's the first time in God knows how long there's not been a trade of inside the top 10.
Yeah, you sort of, because you're watching it and the pick wasn't coming in. You're like, they're gonna trade. Oh, pick's in. Oh.
Yeah.
I guess it's it is what it is. I mean, as I say, Chase Young went second, Jeff Okudah, Andrew Thomas, then Tua.
No, John. So say his full name.
Tua Tonga
Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen his full length first name?
Yeah.
Is this like Vita Vea?
Yeah, it's along those lines. But let's just stick with Tua for the sake of everyone.
Tua, Justin Herbert was 6.
Disney Channel villain.
Yeah. Nothing there that really shocked us, was there?
No, I think the big discussion was whether Dolphins were going to take Tua or Justin Herbert, and it was probably a very well coordinated smokescreen sent out by Miami saying how enamored they were with Justin Herbert. But I think in the end they went with the right choice. They went with probably the player who's got more upside, but it is probably a slightly bigger risk than Justin Herbert in terms of his fitness.
But also, he's going to sell more tickets to her.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's the better quarterback.
I heard the Giants were playing a bit of a game with Justin Herbert. The Giants had video conferences with Justin Herbert to try and drum up interest, and nobody bought it.
No.
Yeah, no one bought it. No one was ever going to buy it. But it's especially this year where we may not get a kickoff in September. You'd be mad not to take Tua, quite frankly.
I think so. Look,
Everybody's going to drink Lysol and it'll be fine.
if Tua didn't have the injury concerns, then there would have been a genuine battle for that the number one pick between Joe Burrow and Tua. Like it would have, and probably the Redskins probably would have traded out of two to a quarterback needy team. It's only the fitness and the health that kind of dropped Tua down to 5. And let's face it, actually dropping down to 5 is a pretty good result considering when he was first injured, people were talking about him dropping out the first round entirely.
Yeah.
So, that's a good result. It's a good result for Tua because he gets to go to a franchise that are going to build around him and, take their time in doing that, but also take the time in developing him and playing him as well. Ryan Fitzpatrick is a more than serviceable quarterback to play for the first year if they need to, or the first half of Tua's first year, and then they can bring him in as he proves his fitness and as he gets used to the playbook.
Of course, they've still got Rosen.
They've still got Rosen for the time being.
I wonder where he'll go. I heard rumours about the Patriots going for Rosen.
I could see that happening.
Yeah.
I genuinely could.
You don't get drafted 7th overall as a bad player.
I think it was 9th.
Right. Well, either way, a top 10 quarterback in the draft is not a bad player. He was behind a revolving door in Arizona, a revolving door in Miami.
Yeah. He's had nothing to throw to for 2 years, apart from
Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah. And Devontae Parker started the year injured. So, yeah. So, bear with me.
So Arizona took Isaiah Simmons 8th, which Panthers took Derek Brown 7th and Simmons 8th. Those two could have gone either way between those two franchises. Slight surprise maybe that Arizona didn't take an offensive lineman, but that meant that those offensive linemen dropped to the teams that really, really need them in terms of kind of Cleveland Browns, the Jets. And then also the Bucs, who of course eventually managed to trade up into one spot to take Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah. So then Jacksonville had CJ Henderson.
Yeah, which was an area of need for them. They've obviously lost Ramsey and AJ Boye and pretty much the rest of their team. They could have taken anyone and it would have been fine. Everyone would have got, that's good.
Then Cleveland finally took an O-lineman. It's big news for Baker because the excuses start to run out.
This is the real make-or-break season for him. Yeah. I think you've got to. People kind of all right. Last season, I feel was a blip for them. Right, there was a lot. There was a lot of. This is the first season I've ever known Cleveland have expectation.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. We said it last week. If they take a decent offensive tackle, along with having signing Jack Conklin there in free agency, he runs out of excuses now. They've got an offensive-minded head coach. Okay, yes, he's new, but at least he's had more experience than what Freddie Kitchens has had. When he got the gig.
He comes from a winning team as well. I don't know. They didn't win anything, but they won games. They won string of games. They had a mentality of winning.
Yeah. I also, he's got all the weapons to throw to that you could possibly wish for on paper. Landry and Beckham. That's as good a wide receiving core as anyone apart from maybe Dallas now.
Austin Hooper as well joining. Who's a very serviceable tight end.
Oh, more than serviceable.
He's a great tight end. So
you've still got Njoku there as well, haven't you?
Still got Njoku. They also they brought in in the 6th round. They drafted Donovan Peoples-Jones from Michigan, who is a good wide receiver. He was massively let down by the fact that Michigan have got a terrible, terrible quarterback. With a decent quarterback, he probably would have been a couple of rounds higher.
As well, for him as well, like the players closest to him, so you're going to have Austin Hooper, but you've also got Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
You know,
they're a very decent team. I mean, defense, they're strong as well. With Myles Garrett coming back, that's an underreported thing for me.
Yeah,
The impact that's going to have on the team.
They drafted Grant Delpit, safety out of LSU, who, yes, he had a bad year last year, but the year before that, people were mocking him. I remember the first mock draft that came out after last year's draft for this year, if that makes any sense whatsoever. They had Grant Delpit going in the top 10 the first round. He was that good. And he's playing alongside his pal Greedy Williams, who they both played at LSU together, and then of course you got Denzel Ward. So that whole team is paper, it's stacked.
It's stacked. I look forward to what excuses they basically have to use this year. At number 11, it was Mekhi Becton.
Mekhi
Becton. Sorry, we figured this out last week.
Mekhi Becton sounds like a bloke you buy drugs off in Huddersfield.
Yeah. There was an expectation he could have gone higher. But there were questions. Was it a failed drugs test?
Yeah, he had a failed drugs test, and there were question marks about whether he could keep his weight down. This is a guy who's 6'7" and 364 pounds.
Massive human being.
He's a fairly sizable person for defensive ends to try and get round. And there's a lot of upside to his game. He's a bit raw still, but I mean, Sam Darnold was crying out for protection. Le'Veon Bell was crying out for some holes to run through, and if they can't do it with this guy, then there's probably a few issues.
He also played right tackle, which is why I had him going to the Giants in our mock draft, because the guy we picked has never played a right tackle.
But apparently we're moving Solder, who's never played there.
Who's never played right tackle. Find the down in the good.
That's being a Giants fan. Finding the darkness in the light.
At 12, a pick Jim got right in our mock draft. Henry Ruggs to Raiders.
It's such a Raiders move.
Love it.
I mocked him there just because it was a mantra of Al Davis back when he was kind of the GM of the Raiders. He'd look for the fastest player in the draft and draft him. He wanted speed. He wanted people who are quick and would get down the field quickly. He wanted the 80-yard run or the 60-yard bomb of a pass that goes to a touchdown. That's entertainment, and that's what Al Davis is all about. And the Raiders haven't changed all that much. Like they're still, now they're moving to Las Vegas. It's even more kind of glitz and glamour, and that type of player it's that Tyreek Hill kind of explosive, entertaining, anything could happen from any point on the field type player. And wide receiver was a massive need for them. They've now filled that. They took three wide receivers in total through the draft. Similar to kind of Baker Mayfield in Cleveland, the Raiders and Derek Carr now have a few weapons to throw to.
Yes.
Whether they can catch him or not is another question, because they've got Nelson Aguilar.
Well, that's what I'm about to say. Yeah, they've got a few weapons and Nelson Aguilar, but it could be worse for them, and we'll get to that later. Tampa, having just brought in a 42-year-old. However old he is, quarterback. Probably not the worst decision in the world to bring in an offensive lineman, Tristan Wirfs.
Yeah.
Which was a swap with San Francisco, who went down to pick 14 and got Javon Kinlaw. Are you happy with this one, Mike, Jim?
Now, I'll admit, at the time, I was not happy. And me and Gary were particularly upset. Everyone had us taking one of these top wide receivers. When it came to it, it was like, right, CeeDee Lamb's there, Jerry Judy's there. I prefer Lamb. I preferred Judy. Gary preferred Lamb. And I was like, actually, I don't mind whichever one I take. They both got quality. and then they take a defensive tackle. I wasn't very happy, I'll be honest with you. I think probably most 49ers fans would probably say the same. But I think when you look at the body of work that Lynch did overall, it kind of makes more sense. And obviously they go in with a plan which we can't see or we'll never know. So as a kind of a whole draft, I'm happy. And now I know kind of what we've got. It's okay, I'm with that. Javon Kinlaw is probably, after Chase Young was the best defensive lineman in the draft. He fills the hole that's left by DeForest Buckner. A lot of the comparisons that were made by media was that Javon Kinlaw's a lot like DeForest Buckner. That's kind of who they were kind of comparing him to. He's bloody massive. He's 6'5". So he's a big old guy. So I think it's, what is he, 6'5" and 324 pounds. He's quick as well, and it's kind of a mantra. It's a mantra of the 49ers that they having a good defensive line is an equalizer in this league, because no matter how good your pass offense is, if your opposition are getting to that quarterback on an ongoing basis, it eradicates that. So they're building strength on strength. It's something like the fifth defensive lineman taken in the first round in 6 years. So
yeah, your defensive line is just stacked of first round talent.
And you get rid of you trade away a first round talent and still have an amazing.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, yes, DeForest Buckner is a proven entity, but we can't afford to pay him $84 million, and Javon Kinlaw's $22 million. So we got a good pick. We picked him, we paid $60 odd million, and we'll have him on a rookie contract for the next 4 to 5 years.
And it is needed as well. This was a year when Armstead, D Ford, all these players didn't play every game. It's a tough position, the defensive line. Having Kinlaw there, I think at the time I was disappointed for you first. I thought they're gonna get Judy here, CeeDee Lamb, and I was like, oh. Just the air, you could feel the air drop out of the chat.
Yeah, like I said, it was a shock. But looking at everything that happened through the draft, the 49ers, I've come away quite happy with that.
Yeah.
We'll come on to more of those later.
So 15 Broncos, they went Jerry Jeudy.
The Broncos have really impressed me this offseason, this draft. Do you look at this team now? This is such a better team all around the pitch.
They've lost Chris Harris,
but they've brought in AJ Boye.
Yeah.
They've got Melvin Gordon on the offense. I realise you've got Lindsay, but Melvin Gordon is still a decent back.
Melvin Gordon and Lindsay is a 1-2 punch that many teams couldn't match.
And Drew Lock looked like he was developing at a decent rate.
Yeah, and then you look at the receiving core now. Well, they've got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant. They also took KJ Hamler in the second round, another quick, albeit small wide receiver. It's going to be a really Drew Lock's probably the most fortunate quarterback that Denver had, Peyton Manning. We've pinned Elway for not being able to draft a quarterback. Well, he's kind of gone the other way and gone, right, I'm not very good at that. I'm going to build a team around a quarterback who might be okay and see how that works.
Yeah, it might be all right, actually. I'd like to see them. I just feel the league's better with a good Broncos. It's like the proper a storied franchise. So yeah, Atlanta Falcons.
The thing that made it for me, just before you get there, was just looking at a tweet Drew Lock put out during the draft.
Was it just
nice?
You could tell he was pretty happy with how this draft went.
Well, yeah, you would be. They've now, like I said, you think back to when Peyton Manning was quarterback and they had like Wes Welker. They had
Sanders,
Eric
Julius
Thomas, Eric
Thomas,
Decker, Julius Thomas.
Stokely? No.
Yeah, 1,000-yard rushing CJ Anderson. Like, this is the best they've been since on offense that they've been. And also, they've got a defensive mastermind at head coach. So
yeah,
they're relying, and they've got good pieces on the defense as well. Denver could be a sneaky good team in the next, well, whenever the next football season starts.
Yeah. At 16, Atlanta Falcons pick AJ Terrell. So this is the first one I went, cornerback.
But there seems to be a big kind of, there's Okudah, everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Henderson was a clear second, but he wasn't in Okudah's class, if you ask me. And then you're right, there's a kind of a group of, well, I'd say 4 other cornerbacks that were highly thought of in terms of Christian Fulton, Trevon Diggs, Jeff Gladney, and then AJ Terrell was at the bottom of that group of 4, if you ask me. Surprisingly, he went first out of those 4, and then a couple of others went before the other 4 as well. So
yeah,
just goes to show.
We'll get on to that. What do we know?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we know more than SB Nation, it seems, about cornerbacks. But we'll get on to that. 17, Dallas Cowboys, CD Lamb.
So after the 49ers pass on those 2 wide receivers, this pick made me really angry. I fucking hate the Cowboys.
This is the point where
he's not in your division, remember?
I know. Yeah. Like Denver, the Cowboys now are just. Well, you just look at that offense. They've got a good offensive line. They've got a good quarterback who, they need to sign to a new contract. They already had Zeke Elliott. They already had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. And you're just thinking, you've got all these needs on defense that you could be filling. But Jerry Jones is like, screw that. I'm taking the best player, and we're going to outscore everyone. Because now this, not only does this kind of create another receiving option for Dak Prescott, this will open up the field for Zeke Elliott as well, because you can't put 8 men in the box to stop him running, because you've got to mark 3 good receivers. And it also means CeeDee Lamb can play in the slot, because you've got Cooper and Gallup on the outside. CeeDee Lamb is best in that slot receiving position, and that's all yours now. You go and do that. He'll win those matchups over the middle.
Oh yeah, he's such a talent. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
That was the only pick that when I woke up the next morning and immediately got on Twitter. Like literally as soon as I just reached for my phone straight away. I knew there was no chance of him going to the Giants. I knew that
much like CD Lamb.
That was the only pick that was like, oh man, really?
Yeah.
Them?
That was a killer. The Cowboys had a good draft overall. We'll come on to that and winners and losers in the draft, but they had a good one.
They always do well in the draft, though. It's just historic.
Yeah, they've got better in recent years, I think. But, that was yeah.
So at 18, Miami Dolphins pick a tackle, Austin Jackson, to help protect their new quarterback, which
makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
It makes sense.
We had Gary kind of going on all night about Dolphins to trade up to get one of the offensive linemen, the top 4 offensive linemen. And there is kind of credit in doing that. It was the right move to make in terms of position. I'd say who they picked is probably questionable. I think he's one of these players that he's young. He's only about 20 or 21. He's got fantastic talent, but it's going to need developing over the next kind of year, 2 years. He's not at anywhere near kind of that peak of his powers yet. But if he does develop into a good player, then it's a great pick. But every draft is the first round it's 50-50 whether these bit players are going to be stars or busts.
He said he'll be 21 by the start of the season.
Right.
If the season starts as expected.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At 19, Las Vegas Raiders select Damon Arnett.
This is where it starts getting silly.
the brother of
Will
Arnett. No, he's not. It's cornerback. That's pretty much what I know about him.
Yeah, right. Ohio State has been a breeding ground for quarterbacks. Like Jeff Okuda's gone, Denzel Ward gone. There's been a few others as well that have gone in recent years. Damon Arnett is not one of those cornerbacks. He's never been kind of either the number one. He's probably struggled to make the number two. He was at Ohio for 5 years. He's 24 already.
Yeah.
He's not in, you look at kind of some of the rankings that other kind of media commentators had, and he's pretty low. I think CBS had him as the 63rd ranked player. Realistically, the Raiders could have taken someone else, filled a different need, and come back in a later round and picked Damon Arnett. So I have to wonder what was going on there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, let's move on.
You look at that. The 2015 Ohio State Buckeyes team is disgusting.
Yeah.
So Zeke, Curtis Samuel, Braxton Miller, Michael Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Paris Campbell.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
pretty decent, isn't it?
Joey Bosa, Jerome Baker, Raekwon McQuillan, Chris Worley, Eli Apple, Von Bell, Malik Hooker, Marshawn Lattimore, Denzel Ward.
That'd get in the playoffs.
It would, wouldn't it? I mean, you have to remember a lot of those players are different ages, so they weren't at the peaks. But on paper, that's Ohio recently have had a run of great players coming out in the first round. Like LSU were the team of this draft. They had 14 players drafted in total, which I think is tied for the most from one college. But Ohio have been doing it year after year. They're almost like Alabama in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I forgot they also had the number 1 overall draft pick there as well that year.
Oh yeah. So the 20, the Jags bring in Caleb on Chason, linebacker.
Yeah.
Which is their basically the pick they traded for Ramsey.
Yeah, they picked up the cornerback earlier in the year, earlier in the draft. Well, I guess it was earlier in the year.
It was, it's still in the year.
A couple of hours earlier in the year. The Jags have got so many needs now. They could have picked again. They could have gone anywhere. They picked probably the best player available. He's after Chase Young. He's the best edge rusher. He'll work well with kind of Josh Allen on the other side as well.
Yeah, it was something they needed. So, 21 Eagles went Jalen Reagor.
I told you they would.
Wide receiver, quick.
Yeah.
Just what they need, really.
Yeah. It sort of made sense at the time. And then they went and got Marquise Goodwin from the 49ers as well. And you're like,
yes.
Well, now you've got 3 quick wide receivers if Deshaun Jackson's back. So where's your big-bodied guy? It's not... The problem last year with the Eagles wide receivers, they were unfit, but also it wasn't a problem with getting open. It was a problem with just bloody catching the ball. Like, Aguilar got open a number of times, but had so many drops, it wasn't true. So, and Jalen Reagor has got a few drop issues. So,
You say that. They have actually brought in Nelson Aguilar as an expert for coronavirus based on the fact he can't catch anything.
Well, they've still got Alshon Jeffrey, haven't they?
Yeah, Jeffrey's still there, but I think
Zach Ertz is effectively a wide receiver for them.
He's their big-bodied receiver, but there's only so many times you can throw to him in a game. Apparently,
exactly. And they got Dallas Goedert, the other tight end as well. But I'm just looking at the next pick down. The Vikings took Justin Jefferson, and it's like, I can't get my head around what their thinking was there. If they're also kind of looking at other players like Marquise Goodwin, having Deshaun Jackson there, who hopefully will come back fit. But I might be wrong.
Look,
I think
what we can take from this.
I think their second round pick was probably more controversial than maybe their first.
Yes.
I sent you both a reaction video for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good. All we can guess from that is that Howie Rosen, Doug Peterson, listen to this.
Yes.
So if you are listening, turn off now because it ain't going to get any better for you. So yeah, as you say, 22nd Vikings pick Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, perfect replacement for Diggs, who's gone to Buffalo, obviously, and that was the pick which Buffalo would have had.
Yeah. And at 23, Chargers and their 6 fans on the screen. Which is so sad.
Was it because they weren't expecting the Chargers to trade back into the first round?
I'd imagine so.
They got their pick, Justin Herbert. Yeah, job done. We've got a QB of the future, right? We're going to go now, and not watch the rest of it. And then suddenly they're back in the first round of trade with New England. New England are out, and Chargers take the player who New England probably should have taken, in my opinion.
Yeah, Kenneth Murray.
That's now a good defense in the Chargers again, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a defense that has Derwin James coming back into it, which, oh my God, what a player.
Isn't that where Chris Harris has gone?
Yes.
I mean...
And they weren't short. They weren't short of cornerbacks either, and they got Bosa and Ingram on the edges, rushing the passer. They've gone. Whereas Denver kind of stocked up on receiving talent to try and take on the Chiefs and potentially outscore them. The Chargers, I think, are like, well, we're going to try and stop you.
Yeah. No, it's intriguing.
The defense doesn't win championships, so it's fine. I mean, it's silly, isn't it?
No, you're forgetting the Chargers don't win championships.
No, we're forgetting the crucial element. Right,
Rivers has gone.
Gary will hear me somehow without being here.
This is picked up in Peterborough.
This is a different. I think this is 17 years.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
17 years since the Chargers have had someone different. So,
yeah, the last quarterback who started the game was Drew Brees for the Chargers. Something stupid like that.
God, yeah, probably was, wasn't it?
I think so.
Tits. Okay, well, 24, New Orleans Saints, Cesar Ruiz, a center.
I don't get it when you've got McCoy.
I think he's going to move to guard, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Because I know they re-signed Andreas Pete, but I don't think he's very good. Still. And their other guy, Larry Warford, it's his final year this year in his contract, so that could be a good replacement.
Yeah, compared to a lot of teams, the Saints don't really have a lot of holes.
No, none at all.
Other than playoff.
Yeah.
That.
Playoff luck.
Yeah.
Hole in that.
Luck. If they could draft Luck, I'm not Andrew Luck, but actual Luck, I'm sure they would.
I still like to see them take a receiver. I'd love to see more help for Thomas.
But you've got Sanders there.
They've got Sanders there.
Traquan Smith is the number 3 is still better than most other teams' number 2.
They've got my friend, the running back Alvin Kamara, and also Tavis Murray, who are both good players. And they picked up they had a sneaky good pickup in the third round. The tight end Adam Troutman, who I think is next to Cole Kmet was one of the 2 top tight ends in the league. They've still got Jared Cook, so I reckon Troutman could be in for quite a few games and could have almost like that what Jimmy Graham was for Drew Brees back in the day.
They've also got that X factor, haven't they, of post-eye surgery Winston.
So let's talk about that quickly then.
Yes. I'm not saying that to take the piss. This is a guy who's had genuine eye surgery.
We'll come back to Winston because
all right,
because there could be a section on its own.
Yeah, we'll come back.
25. San Francisco 49ers take Brandon Ayuk.
Yep.
Wide receiver from Arizona State. And keeping Gary happy, he's just over 6 feet tall.
As long as they're tall, Gary's happy.
He's literally like for Sanders, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very, very similar. Probably a little bit quicker than Sanders. He had the most yards over catch in the whole of the US in the college season last year. He's had, he played alongside in Harry the year before last, and Harry obviously got drafted by Patriots, and he was that led to Brandon Ayuk being the number one player, or the number one receiver for Arizona. He fits perfectly into kind of Shanahan's scheme, and that you get with Garoppolo, whose accuracy is not his kind of long, deep ball accuracy isn't the best. Given a short kind of slant across the middle or a very kind of quick route, and given the ball, and he'll just go. And that's kind of what Deebo Samuel does. It's what Brandon Ayuk does. Our third round pick, Jalen Hurd, is apparently fit, and he's going to be another one of those players, although he's actually a bit taller. So that's
Dante Pettis, who I thought was fantastic at the back end of last season.
Yeah, and also, we've got this guy who he's shown potential. This guy, George Kittle, who is pretty good, and he's got a lot of yards after catch ability as well. So, as I was saying earlier, I think kind of now you look at it as a whole. You picked up a replacement for DeForest Buckner. You've now got a replacement for Emmanuel Sanders, who's cheaper than Emmanuel Sanders as well because he's on a rookie contract. He kind of puts the 49ers back to kind of where they were. They made some other moves, which we'll come on to later as well. And you're like, all right, with you. I'm back on board now. And if I was awake for this pick, I would have been back on board.
Yeah, they are just... I kept mentioning it last year, but sensible teams get far when they play, get far. And San Francisco right now are just looking so sensible.
They're reminding me a lot of kind of the Ravens, but also the Patriots in terms of they're picking players that work within the team, not necessarily the consensus best player, but a player who fits the scheme and is also going to fit within the dressing room as well. Because they don't, Lynch and Shanahan are very careful about the personalities of people they picked. There were rumors going around that they had phone interviews with Henry Ruggs. I think Henry Ruggs said that didn't go very well. So it kind of, even just from that, you kind of get the sense that they have their eye on someone who they're allowed to have, personalities. Richard Sherman's got one of the biggest personalities in the league. But
he's also a model citizen.
Yeah, as long as they're not a tosser, basically.
Yeah. Well, luckily, Las Vegas love a prick. So
yeah.
It's a competitive streak though for Sherman, isn't it? It's not. It's still based on the team.
He wants to win. Yeah.
But yeah, moving. Yeah, if you like, to me at the moment, San Francisco seem like Liverpool a couple of years ago, where suddenly that after a few years of like
they seem
kicking into gear.
I think
sensible.
I think they properly struck gold with Lynch and Shanahan. And excuse the analogy because it's the 49ers and Gold Rush and all that. They seem to be working very well together, and they're making this draft. I think John Lynch probably is the GM of the draft, if you ask me. And I'm very biased, so that. But if you look at some of the other moves, and again, we'll talk about them. 49ers are right back into contention for going to another Super Bowl.
Yeah, I made a bold prediction at the end of the last Super Bowl that I thought they'd be back. I'm seeing nothing to make me change that so far. So going from sensible, 26, Green Bay Packers take Aaron Rodgers' replacement. It may be
traded up to get him as well.
Yes, seemed very deliberate. I realise everything's deliberate because they clearly intend to do it, but I mean, it seemed almost spiteful.
I think I want to talk about the Packers draft as a whole. So maybe let's move on and we'll come back to Packers because
I think that's probably the best. I think
I loaded up on
factors
YouTube
around
10 minutes of fart sounds ready to discuss their draft grade. So
yeah, load that up and we'll come back to that because there's more to discuss there. So Seattle for 27.
Seattle took Jordan Brooks, linebacker. I don't really know much about Jordan Brooks. He wasn't really on my radar. I would admit.
Don't think he was on many people's radar. Also, I'm not really sure if like an outside linebacker is their greatest need. Okay, yes, they haven't got Jadeveon Clowney anymore, although he might be back. But they've got Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. Yes, he could kind of slot in next to them as a third linebacker. But I don't know if it's their biggest need when there are other players they could have taken to fill more important needs.
Since then, they have got rid of Britt and someone else, but basically the offensive line.
DJ Fluker.
You're like, okay, there's quite a few spaces now.
But they got George Fant, haven't they? No, they got rid of him as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did.
So
I'm not sure about the first round pick, but I've got a bit more trust in Seattle's front office than I have other front offices. So, maybe it'll come off. My
We've been doing this for
favorite
a few years now, and each year we come away from Seattle going, I'm not sure about that. And each year they just get better.
Yeah.
They got rid of George Fant's gone to the Jets.
Yeah, that's. Anyway, my favourite. We're not going to talk about Seattle much, I expect, but just to kind of highlight the fourth round, tight end Colby Parkinson, 6'7", 252 pounds. This is another huge target for Russell Wilson. He's not great at blocking. He's going to be a pass catching tight end. I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch.
Yes. Nice spot. 28, Baltimore Ravens. Take Patrick Queen.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's a team that just seems to know what it's doing. That was
They're another one of these teams that are just so, and they have been for probably since their conception, way back at the beginning, end of the 90s. They just pick good players, solid, good players. Sometimes not spectacular, but often good. And Patrick Queen, I think, between him and Kenneth Murray, there wasn't that big a difference. They must have been jumping up and down with joy when he fell to them.
Especially when you have Jordan Brooks going, whatever. So
yeah, and then in the second round, they basically pick up Mark Ingram's replacement in J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah,
right. I reckon he could be a sneaky good fantasy player next year.
Okay, 29. Tennessee Titans get Isaiah Wilson, offensive tackle.
Solid. You lost Compton, pick up a replacement.
Yeah.
At 30, after their trade with Green Bay, Dolphins bring in Noah Igbinoghene.
Don't even try it.
Yes, him. Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Noah.
Cornerback. Again, it was a position of need. Like Damon Arnett, I'm not sure. I mean, you look at the next pick that the Vikings made. The Vikings really lucked out, didn't they? They took Jeff Gladney, who I had higher than Noah. Yeah.
Yeah. Vikings brought in Jeff Gladney in their trade from the San Francisco pick.
It was okay. He's decent.
Yeah, quite frankly. A position they need.
Yeah.
They've been struggling for a couple of years now. So, yeah.
Xavier Rhodes was terrible last year.
Yeah. Really was. Most disappointing player we could possibly for me. At 32, Kansas City Chiefs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Hilarious. The pick was
literally the rich get richer. Oh God, this. If you watched Edwards-Helaire in the last couple of games for LSU, you'd be like nodding your head in appreciation because he is a good back. He's they could have gone DeAndre Swift. It was probably the consensus number one running back, but Edwards-Helaire is a really good fit for what Kansas want to do, and that's kind of work on the passing game. He caught 50 passes in LSU last year. He's quick, he's nimble. Like what I was saying about J.K. Dobbins being a sneaky good fancy pick, this is going to be a really good fancy pick if you get him.
Yeah. So that's the first round. I'll just pick up some short things from the second round. So Bengals picked up Higgins as the first pick in the second round, receiver for Burrows.
Literally a younger version of AJ Green. Maybe not quite as good, but very similar type of player.
If you got someone half as good as AJ Green at his prime, you've got a decent receiver.
Yeah.
And I just add their options because they have been lacking.
But they always seem to have someone who gets a 100-yard game.
Yeah.
You've never, like Erickson.
Yeah, Auden Tate, is it?
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd was who's turned out to be sneaky good.
Yeah.
John Ross got 2
games,
didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. Never get on the John Ross hype.
I was going to say, last year he had a couple of games where he's good, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's actually starting to do something," and then he fell.
The Colts' first pick was Michael Pittman, wide receiver. The Lions brought in DeAndre Swift to add to their backfield.
Thank God.
Finally, they've got a running back who might be able to stay fit.
Yeah.
And if Kerryon Johnson is there, him and Swift together is a great combo.
Yeah.
People that we picked in the first round, Giants got Xavier McKinney at 36, which
looks phenomenal.
He does look good. I'm surprised he made it into the second round. Like, that shocked me.
Yeah, we had a decent safety, but this is really good. We haven't really replaced them.
You never replaced Landon Collins, did you?
No.
Well, no. we had was it Antoine Bethea last season?
Yeah.
Old man Bethea.
Yeah.
Replaces him, doesn't it?
Exactly. Panthers brought in Yuta Gross-Matos at 38.
I love the whole Panthers draft just because it was like, right, we need to improve our defense. Let's go and spend what? Oh no, every pick was on defense.
That's what they need, though, isn't it?
It was like, right, we need a defensive tackle. Right, we'll get the best one. Right, we need an edge rusher. Yeah, Yetil Gross-Matos is there. Right, take him. 2 safeties, 2 cornerbacks, and then another defensive tackle. And you're like, all right. The only position they didn't fulfill was linebacker.
Yeah.
Which is one of their biggest holes now that Luke Kuechly retired. But other than that, Matt Rule is an offensive-minded coordinator. And he's like, right, well, I think the plan is similar to the 49ers. Like, the scheme on offense will look after offense, but we'll stock up on talent on defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they also bought a back support for Christian McCaffrey.
The Texans with their first pick at 40 bought in Ross Blacklock. The Colts again, 41, bought in Jonathan Taylor, a running back.
Love that pick.
Love that one. The Bears at 43 bought in their 10th tight end.
That's just unbelievable. 10 tight ends on your roster.
I mean, I know your quarterback's pony, but come on, show some willing.
Yeah.
I guess the defense is already stacked.
Defense is decent.
But yeah.
Why
pay Jimmy Graham? What is it?
Anything. Why pay Jimmy Graham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then draft Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham was good 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, he was never the same when he left New Orleans.
He was good for just raw touchdown numbers in Seattle.
Yeah.
But since he left Seattle, I think he's been utter dog shite.
Even the last few years in Seattle, he caught touchdowns, but he like I had him in fantasy one year, and he'd get you good points because he'd catch.
I remember because I released him so you could have him.
Yeah, he gets
after game one.
He'd get no yards, none at all. It'd be like 1 or 2 yard touchdown catches.
He moves at a glacial pace now.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not the slowest tight end going because Jason Witten's still around, but not by much. I'm trying to think who the Pittsburgh Steelers brought in Chase Claypool, wide receiver. Which
they have a habit of taking wide receivers in the second and third round, and for them turning out to be absolutely brilliant. So obviously, this is another one who's going to be awesome.
Los Angeles Rams 52 brought in Cam Akers, running back. Not going to be Todd Gurley, this one, is he?
No. And then Van Jefferson with their second round pick, who has been comped to what's his face? Who's the wide receiver still at the Rams? The young
Cooks.
one. No, other one.
Woods.
Cup. Thank you. Wow, mind fart. Yeah, he's been comped to Cooper Kupp. So I'm not sure this is what the Rams needed. I really think they could have used offensive line help and a good number of pieces on the defense. They stocked up a little bit, but probably not to the extent that I would like them to if I was Jared Goff.
Bills picked up AJ Epinesa, who was number one of our picks.
Such a good pick.
That's a drop, but I think that would be great.
They also got. I really seem to have like every running back at the moment. Zach Moss, who's just a thumper of a running back. So him and Devin Singletary could be really interesting 1-2 combo.
They've still got Christian Wade from the NFL Europe plan, haven't they?
They do still have Christian Wade, yeah. Oh, they also picked Jake Fromm in the 5th round.
Yeah.
5th round. Griff wanted Patriots to take Fromm in the 2nd, and I said that was too high, but I didn't expect him to go to the 5th round.
I thought Jalen Hurts was going to go to New England. I can't tell you why. I can give you no research or no stats to prove. I got a gut feeling.
Just have one of your gut feelings, don't you?
Yeah. Of course, I forgot. New England Patriots 37. They put in Kyle Duggar as safety
from a very small school.
Lenoir Vine.
Yeah. It's a typical Belichick type move, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's obviously going to be brilliant, but
he's going to be amazing at the Lions in 3 years' time when he's over.
No, he'll be great in 3 years' time, and then awful for the Lions.
Yeah, he'll be awful at the Patriots, and he'll want some money. They'll refuse, and he'll go to the Lions and be absolutely terrible.
And then last of our picks, my reach. Jets picked Denzel Mims, Baylor wide receiver, who I had going to Vikings, and he's 6'3", quick. Could be a replacement for Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, I mean it's what the Jets needed after protecting Sam Darnold. Go out and give him some targets to throw at, and perfect pick. I think the Jets had a good draft as well.
Yeah, they did actually.
Yeah. Surprising for them because
it's not what we usually do.
Whether it's the picks that their coach wants, we'll see.
We'll find out that later on.
But okay, we didn't mention it at the time. Packers.
Yeah.
Brought in a quarterback.
No pack, no.
It's not a question of this man, I guess. It's more a question of Aaron Rodgers. He's been salty for a few years.
Well, I thought about
he has his right to be now.
We spoke about this before we started recording. I thought, this is ridiculous. They didn't replace Brett Favre at this point. They've drafted someone. It would have been the equivalent of drafting someone 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So Rodgers is older than I thought.
Yeah, he's now sneaky old.
He is. I think he probably looks after himself better than Brett Favre did.
Probably.
I mean, other than his drinking habit.
Hey,
A whiskey
don't
after the game.
forget Brett Favre will send you a mean dick pic. Don't forget.
True. Well, that is it. Rodgers is now at the dick pic stage of Brett Favre's career.
I'm not sure if Rodgers didn't send a few offensive text messages to various people within the Packers organization after that draft.
We watched it beforehand, didn't we? The Duncan sent it around, the Pat McAfee comparison of first rounders that they've thrown passes to, and he's only thrown it to one, which is Mercedes Lewis last year, who wasn't even drafted in the first round by Packers. He's an 8-year pro.
Yeah. I think it's well documented. I'm not Aaron Rodgers' biggest fan because I think he is a bit of a dick. But that's not taking away from the fact that he is an absolutely brilliant quarterback and guaranteed Hall of Famer 5 years after he retires. Of that, I have no doubt because he's an incredible talent. I can't not feel sorry for the guy after this draft. They bring in Jordan Love in the first round, and you're like, all right, I get it. I'm older. I've only got 3 years left on my contract. Bring in the young guy who could be a good replacement for me. Fine. All right. Not what he wanted or not what I expect most Packers fans expected or would have wanted. This was a draft that was historically deep at wide receiver. I think something like 36 wide receivers went throughout the whole draft. The Packers didn't take any wide receivers. They took a tight end who is a blocking tight end who will probably move to fullback. They took a running back who is a Marshawn Lynch style thumping running back through the tackles, but not a pass catching running back.
But that worked with Eddie Lacy.
Yeah, true. But when they had Eddie Lacy, they had Randall Cobb and
Jordy
Nelson and Jared Cook. It's fine. The draft looks like it's been set up for Jordan Love to take over and for a rookie quarterback to come in and not have to do much work, in that they're going to lean on the running game and the pass game works off the running game. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you've got the arm that Aaron Rodgers has got and your head coach and front office are telling you, yeah, we're going to lean on the running game, questions are going to be asked.
Yes.
And,
it's not like you're paying him a lot. He's only the highest paid player in history.
Although
I think isn't Matt Ryan earning more than him this year?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's still like what, 30, 34, 35 million a year.
I think the contract itself is the biggest of all time. But Matt Ryan earns more this year the way it's stacked. But it's incredible. I'm a big Rodgers fan, as previously said, and I feel sorry for him.
Yeah, you can't not. The guy's a dick. I don't like him at all as a person, but fucking hell, he's been screwed over here.
If it was Eli, it'd be like, it's okay. It's only Eli or something. This is a first ballot Hall of Famer who is throwing to.
Well, they've still got Devontae Adams. After that, it's like Alan Lazard,
Equanimeous St. Brown,
Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
And like 2 years ago, they were players with potential, but like if they don't make a massive step up this year, then I don't know. The inconceivable almost needs to happen, and Rodgers needs to walk in and go, I want out. If you're not going to look after me, if you're not going to build around me now, because this is yes, he's 30. He'll be 37 when the season starts. He's not got that many years.
No.
He has to win now, doesn't he?
Yeah.
To be fair, he was a game away from the Super Bowl, wasn't he? But
yeah, and you look at that championship game, and the 49ers just ran the ball straight through the whole of the Packers for the whole game. But there's no defensive tackle taken in the draft to kind of help deal with that. There's a defensive end and there's an inside linebacker took in the 5th round. But if they would have taken, was Patrick Queen there when they picked? Yep, Patrick Queen was there when they picked. Even the guy that Seattle took, Jordan Brooks, was there when they picked. They could have taken either of them. They could have taken another pass rusher in YouTube Cross Motus or AJ Vanessa. They've
Bound even.
Yeah, I don't understand. If I was a Packers fan, and lastly, we mentioned Duncan a lot as our friend. If I was a Packers fan, I'd be absolutely screwing right now. Like, what the hell are you doing?
Unfortunately, I'd fallen asleep by the time the Packers picked.
I think most of us had, but I really wish I'd stayed awake. Just
so mad now.
Reaction.
Because, oh man. And he has every right to be absolutely furious.
Yeah. I mean, we've mentioned other franchises who have been sensible, made sensible picks. I put Jerry Jones has made sensible picks and is building a team that you can look at. Like, you swap Aaron Rodgers with Dak Prescott. Is there any question that Dallas Cowboys aren't competing for the Super Bowl next year?
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, you could almost say, I was thinking, like, in the Super Bowl, if you guys had Rodgers rather than Garoppolo, you'd have won.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Completely agree with that.
He's a difference maker and he's being asked to do it all himself.
Yeah.
I still prefer Alex Smith, though.
I mean, even when you look back to Tom Brady in his pomp with the Patriots, and you said, well, he didn't have anyone to throw to. Well, he did. He had Gronkowski and he had Edelman.
Randy Moss.
And what would Aaron Rodgers give
Gronkowski
and Edelman and Welker?
Dion Branch.
Christ, yeah. Anyway.
If I was someone like the Colts, I'd be thinking, shit, we took Rivers, and we could if we'd have had a space now, we could twist his ear. We could totally twist his ear right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still get the feeling they were almost waiting for luck to come back.
I think they are, but because you can't. I don't think he's going to come back. But
no,
I think this year might be an absolute powder keg in Green Bay, and
we said that last year, though, and they got to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, I mean that is true.
No, last year was unknown. Now, last year, he was. You could sense he was annoyed. He was not.
He was being backed up by DeShone Kizer, so it was a different scenario.
Yeah,
you knew
they've also lost Brian Bulaga in the off season as well. That was an important part of their offensive line, and I don't think they've really replaced him. Like, even if they would have brought in another offensive tackle, you'd have been fine. Rather than a wide receiver, you'd have been fine with that. But to let 30 pass up on 30 odd wide receivers, unforgivable.
Criminal. It's criminal. Quite frankly. I was looking. Basically, the only team that could have this cap space to bring him in, if it went absolutely wrong, is the Browns.
I don't think even he would do that.
And I just can't see his ego taking that. But it's not the only controversial quarterback pick.
No.
In the second round, the Eagles brought in Hurts.
Now, the difference here is, I get this. You won your Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. The following season, the backup quarterback played in the playoffs. The following season, the backup quarterback played in the playoffs. Bring in a really good backup. If your quarterback is that injury prone and you can't trust him to be fit for the whole season, then you better make sure that your backup quarterback is one of your top 5 players, quite frankly.
It is. I'm a big Wentz fan, but I'm not going to say he's fragile, but he has terrible luck.
He does, yeah. And I get it. I completely understand this pick. And they have a similar skill set. So, yeah, Hertz can just, where Wentz gets injured, Hertz can just drop in and play. And it might even be that they use, if they're winning games well in the fourth quarter, that they give Hertz a bit of experience and make sure that Wentz doesn't get injured.
Yeah. Now, when I first saw it, I was like, I was pleased because the division rivals, but well, I'd like them to be divisional rivals. The more you look at it objectively, it is sensible. But the Eagles fans were not particularly happy on draft night.
I get where they're coming from, and yeah, you're paying Carson Wentz X amount of $1 million. He's on a 4-year deal. He's clearly the quarterback who you're building a franchise around. And Griff will say this: he's been injured, and you can't trust that, and that's why. And you pick a quarterback up in the second round who you don't have to pay that much.
Yep.
Also, this is a guy who's, if he's gone to Oklahoma and Alabama,
yeah,
you don't play for both of those colleges if you're a terrible quarterback.
Exactly.
You're second in the Heisman if you're a terrible quarterback.
Yeah.
I expected him to go higher, personally.
Yeah, he's got a history of winning games. And I think that's as important sometimes as talent.
No, it seems sensible, which is annoying. I'm not going to go into who do you think won the draft. I hate those sort of things. We'll find out.
You also never know, do you?
We'll find out next year who's won the draft. Should we move on to the other news that's been going around? And Winston's back.
For me, this is smart by the Saints. Yeah. This is a little bit like Bridgewater for me.
Yeah.
Except it's not injury to body; it's injury to reputation.
Yeah.
I think it's a great move. We had this conversation on WhatsApp, and it's like, well, they obviously don't. They're paying Taysom Hill and they're bringing in Winston. Taysom Hill is not the backup quarterback for the Saints. Your backup quarterback needs to be able to play in the same system that your starter quarterback needs to play. If Taysom Hill is your starter, that playbook is going to be completely different to what the playbook is for Drew Brees. So yeah, they gave Taysom Hill some money, and he's going to carry on doing his kind of gadget, all action, running back, wide receiver, sometimes quarterback, special teams player. He'll probably end up at safety at some point next year as well. So yeah, he'll carry on doing that. And if Brees gets injured, you've got, to kind of Paul's point, a Heisman-winning quarterback who has never lost in the playoffs. He threw for 4,000 yards last year, and 30 touchdowns. And let's just ignore the rest of it.
But to be fair, take away the base. You've got the basic point. You've got the NFL passing yards leader last season as your backup.
And also for Winston, it's a great move because he gets to go somewhere where he can take a bit of time away from the limelight, probably learn quite a bit from Drew Brees, but more importantly, learn a heck of a lot from Sean Payton as well.
Yeah. Backing up a 41-year-old Drew Brees is not a bad thing to be.
But we saw last season that a 41-year-old man can get injured. Bridgewater came in. I don't think there's any. We could be in a position where Winston could come in quite happily.
Yeah. And like we just said with Hurts and Wentz, it might be that Sean Payton pulls Drew Brees in the fourth quarter in games they're romping home and says, right, we're going to rest you. You're 40-odd years old. Let's see what Winston can do. So it's on a 1-year deal. If Winston's good, they can extend it. If he's not, it doesn't cost them anything. Take it from there.
To prove it. It's a good use of a prove it.
Yeah. I think it's a really, really sensible deal.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. If it can only go, it's only going to go where he comes out of this reputation, not completely maintained, but he might have a little bit of a a gloss to the reputation. I think a year out from people forgetting, or it's going to be bloody hilarious.
Well, yeah, best case scenario, he gets 60 million contract from the Panthers.
Yeah, it's
maybe not the Panthers because of what they've just paid Bridgewater, but
well, I imagine they're going to probably have to replace Bridgewater in a year because he's going to be knackered.
Yeah, it could be. It could be a very distinct possibility. I hope he's not. I hope Bridgewater does well.
No, I hope not. I hope not. But yeah, I think you look at Tannehill, and there's very much a case of we can, a backup quarterback can make a claim for a starting position and a huge contract the year after.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think if it's the right scheme, then. Well, we say it week after week. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Jeff Hostetler won the Super Bowl.
Exactly. So,
Freeman.
And this is a man who was blocking punts a year before, Jeff Hostetler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think there's any. We covered Gronk coming back last week.
Covered Gronk. The one last thing we want to cover: Joe Staley retiring.
Yes.
An all-decade left tackle. He's the last remnant of the 49ers from the Jim Harbaugh era. Amazing career. He's an offensive lineman and he hasn't won the Super Bowl, so he's probably not going to go into the Hall of Fame, but it wouldn't be a bad shout to get nominated.
I'll mispronounce him, but the centre and O-lineman who played for Kevin Barway.
Yeah.
Why? He played for the Titans and for the Jets. He got into the Hall of Fame.
Don't get me wrong. It very much could happen. It's not a slam dunk for a Hall of Fame entry, but you never know.
But of course, you brought in Trent Williams as well.
Yeah, and again, coming back to that, Lynch kind of won the draft. This is part of the draft. I think the way that the Staley retirement was handled was brilliant because he basically went to management and go, look, this is happening. I'm probably going to retire. I've got health concerns. I'm telling you this in advance of the draft so you can prepare for it. That shows that he has a tremendous amount of respect for the organization and for that coaching staff. Because if it's coaching staff or a GM that you can't wait to kind of get rid of, you're not going to do that. So it gave kind of Lynch and Shanahan the opportunity to then respond, and they went out and grabbed another All-Pro left tackle from Washington. So Trent Williams finally ends his Washington hell. He pairs back up with Kyle Shanahan, who worked with him obviously at the Redskins, and he slots straight into left tackle, which potentially is an upgrade over Joe Staley, providing Williams comes back at the same level that he was.
Yeah. Smart GMing.
Yeah, and also, I mean, they've got a year to test that as well before they have to give him another contract.
Yeah,
I do like the respect Joe Staley gave because it is kind of, well, why are they getting Trent Williams? Oh shit, yeah, that makes total sense. That's great, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a decent move for all concerned. I think for Washington, they didn't get as much as they wanted to, and they had a fifth this year and a third next year. Yeah, this time last year they were after more than a first. So it's quite typical of Washington in recent years. They've handled this badly, like they did Kirk Cousins and numerous other people.
Yeah, well, they are. They're not exactly paragons of smart leadership right now.
Kind of the opposite of what we said as a sensible franchise.
Yeah. Other than that, is there any more news? Anyone think of course, James Devlin's retired. Michael would bring it up if he was here.
Griffin would definitely bring that one
up. He's a big fan of Devlin. I quite like Devlin. He's a tough bastard, quite frankly. But yeah, the injuries have just got too much for him. I think neck injuries, the reason he's retired. Other than that, I can't think of much.
No, I think we've covered probably most of the highlights. I'm sure there's something we missed out, but
sure there is.
We're not perfect.
Yeah. Plus, we don't want this to go on much longer. So, on that case, we'll leave you. We'll be back in a few weeks. We might come back with a quiz or something if there's no football, because
just being ourselves more than anything else.
Exactly, yeah. Plus, it's always nice to see Gary struggle.
He only thinks about the future. Remember that.
Yeah.
He doesn't look back into the past.
No. But yeah, we'll come back and in a few weeks when there's something we can talk about. But until then, it's goodbye from us.